My name is Giselle Schimpf. I was born in 1932 in Bingen, Germany.
My name is Hans Schimpf. I was born in Darmstadt on October the 20th, 29.
My name is Louise Basis. I'm born in Passau, 1938.
My name is Arthur Fatis. I'm born in Germany in a little town in the Black Forest. I'm born in 1934.
Well, when the war started, there was really nothing different in the beginning of the war.
In my hometown, we really didn't feel the war. Because, as I said, middle in the Black Forest was a quiet town.
We had a beautiful school, and it was fairly new, and everybody was happy that we could go into the new school. And we had a beautiful swim bath in the basement, and it didn't take long until maybe a year or so after the beginning of the war. We couldn't go in there anymore because the German soldiers came back from the war and they made it into a convalescent home.
Oh, it was probably around 1943. And the reason why I know that the war is on, because so many airplanes flew over our town to drop their bombs somewhere.
And after that, I must say, we really knew there was a war on, because we had school, you name it, and we went there. Sometimes we went to the Catholic Church, sometimes we went to the Protestant Church, sometimes we went here, sometimes we went there. Wherever the people could find place for us, we went. And to this day, I don't know how we learned everything.
Oh, we had regular school days, of course, and then when the sirens came off, we had to run into a bunker. It happened quite often, but as I said before, the airplane went all over us to bigger cities, not a little big town.
And then it started getting worse because everything got rationed. I mean, we had, I know not me, but my parents, they had a book, and they gave everybody maybe 4 ounces of butter a week, some flour, not even a half pound of sugar. There was no oil to be had, and everything was done without oil, and you can imagine what the food tasted like. So luckily I was in an area where there were lots of fruit to be had. So we constantly went out, and we got in the spring, we got the cherries, and then later on we got the apples and pears, and we were living mostly on fruit. And also a lot of farmers had potatoes, and when they when they harvested the potatoes, whatever was left over, us kids went in there and found, potatoes that they didn't want anymore or they didn't catch. And the food was the most difficult thing during the war. And not only the food, but also we couldn't get anything on what did I say? No clothes, no nothing. We couldn't get anything. So a lot of people, they took the farmers, they took the flour sacks and they bleached them and they made clothes out of them. And when it came to shoes, you would not believe what we did with shoes. We used cardboard and we put some holes in each side and put some strings through, and in it was raining. Forget about the shoes, there were more shoes, and we had to start all over again. And that was very bad.
Yeah, the power was out once in a while, or you couldn't even turn the light on when the attack are coming, you know, from the plane. So they told us no light at night, you know. So, yeah.
We had all those airplanes flying over, bumping somewhere. And as kids, we did go in the bunker. And we will run up the woods, had our binoculars with us, looking, you know, what kind of airplanes these are. And one day, we were also up in the woods, and then we heard bang, 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 shooting. And then one airplane got shut down. And I think 4 people got killed in that, and one guy had the chance to parachute down. And he was later on paraded down the main stream, hands up, and 2 soldiers behind him. And the others, as I said, they didn't make it off the airplane. A few days later, we went up to the mountain somewhat, looking where the plane came down, and it came right next over here, came the whole plane, pieces down, and the house had no problems with it, but the backyard or the side yard was completely messed up, and they took the dead bodies out and took them somewhere. But this was the only thing we had something involved in the war. Because I said previously, it was a very sleepy town in the Black Forest. There was not much going on. The only thing we had to eat plenty were potatoes. So during the week we get just different type cooking of potatoes and nothing else.
Yeah, that was good.
My view of the war was a lot different as Mom's. Because we had food to eat. My mother, she worked in a large bakery. In a large bakery, we had a lot of bread, we had sugar, we had everything, practically. So that was a good part, but when it comes the other way around, I got out of school, I learned to be a sheet metal mechanic, and I went to Donse Stahlbau, they called it.
Sometimes with children, we didn't get it really good, you know. My parents had like it was not a farm, or we used to always have a lot of horses. And in the summer times, we had to get hay together on a big pile. And when we had to do that, and suddenly the planes come deep down. And you know, we kids went under the high chopper, hiding. And we thought that was fun, actually.
maybe a year or so later, it really hit us, because we knew some of my girlfriends or boys or girls, their father had to go to the war. And it wasn't long after that, when we went to church every Sunday, that a black wreath was hanging on the wall. And everybody started crying, because they have a German song where they really were sad that they didn't come home. And towards the end of the war, that wall was full of black wreaths. And a lot of people, a lot of my girlfriends or school kids, their father never came home. And my father wasn't going into the war until maybe 44. So they didn't talk about that. They just didn't talk about it. And I know all around our area, most of the fathers, they had to go to the war, but my father was working in that pharmaceutical company, and he was always, he didn't have to go, he didn't have to go, he didn't have to go, until about 1944. Then they were really desperate to get everybody, even the kids that were 18 years old, they had to go to war.
My oldest brother, he was driving a tank. That I know, it's what he told us. Then my brother, he was flying planes, you know.
My sister, Lotte, she was drafted to the pharmaceutical factory Merck. She worked there in the kitchen and cleaning up. One of these machines got caught and lost her 4 fingers. So she had, till she died, only the fingers were gone. My mom got so mad and said, I don't know if she said it in the open, my mom said, that is Hitler's fault. That's what happened to the girls. So somebody must have heard it, and they grabbed my mom and they said to my father, if you don't join what they call today the Nazi party, we put it away. So my dad, there was 44, he joined the Nazi party, and my mom would stay home. Right, so otherwise they would have put it away. Well, I remember one day, the sergeant, now we had school, there was a barrack in the back there, we had school, we were about 16 boys, but we didn't go to the bunker. We stayed back there, you know, like the young kids are. We stayed there, and all of a sudden the bombers came and the bombs came down. The closest bomb fell to us, it was about 150 yards. I mean, we jumped off the ground.
This is the story of an American air operation. One small campaign in the greatest aerial offensive of this war. In a sense, it is more than the story of a military operation. These planes, high in the skies over Germany, were a symbol of the unshakable unity of the Allies. Damage was inflicted on railway stations, freight yards, and factories. Bombs were also dropped on the ministries of war and propaganda, as well as Gestapo headquarters. Over 155 flying fortresses, escorted by fighters, bombed synthetic oil plants and refineries at Ruhland, 70 miles east of Leipzig, Germany.
Went into the bunker between the two big buildings. They already were burning, the roofs were down, so we got into the bunker, which was a concrete bunker loaded with 4 or 5 feet of steel blades, so no bomb would go through there. So we finally make it there, and that was that one day. Right, and then every day the bombers came, they dropped their bombs, and I remember September 11, 44, it was about, I would say, 8 o'clock in the evening. So we got up, went to the bunker. We had a bunker, concrete bunker, but we stayed outside, and then all of a sudden we heard the noise. The bombers came, and they were dropping these lights. We call them Christmas tree lights. They lit up everything, and the bombs came down and never stopped. And then the next day, we were living on the outskirts of Darmstadt, so nothing happened to us. But the next day, the following day, we went into the city, and you would not believe, you couldn't even walk the streets anymore. Everything was down. I don't know how many thousand people got killed this day, and that was, yeah, which I never will forget, September 11, 44.
About two years into the war, the bombers came. We were living not close to a pharmaceutical factory, and apparently the Americans knew that they should not bomb that, because there was a rumor that they sent some medical stuff to Switzerland, and then the Americans came and took it. If that is true or not, I don't know. Maybe it was a rumor. But our town, city, small city, was never bombed. But that doesn't mean that we were not afraid that they would bomb us. My grandfather and my grandmother was living with them at that time. They took me and we went down the street, and there was a butcher shop, and it was 2 stories high, and they started throwing chairs out and whatever they threw down on the street. And we said, well, why are they doing that? Well, you don't understand. So then further down the street, there was a tobacco store, and the same thing happened there. And they threw everything out, the cigarettes, the cigars, and whatever they were in the store. And the same thing. Why are they doing that? Well, you're too young, you don't understand. And then later on we found out that those 2 families disappeared. And we didn't know where they went, and nobody would tell us where they went. So that was the end of that story.
Until at night, he was coming to these houses, and usually the Jewish people, most of them was always very rich. They owned the bank, they owned big businesses, and they given Hitler a lot of money for the war, for what he needs for the planes and munition. Yes, and I know that. And over deep down, I don't know, he wants a white race. The Hitler wants white people, you know.
My hometown is a little larger than where I'm coming from. And Kristallnacht was when, I remember in the Bleistraße, we called it Bleistraße, was a synagogue, when they smashed all the windows, And I believe that's why they called it the Crystal Night, when the glass broke. The stores in the city.
Oh, the Jewish stores.
Yeah, sure. The banks, the hospitals, the banks. They all were Jewish. You need money, you had to go to the Jews, and they robbed you, these people.
And
That's why they were hated.
And then the Jewish people that were still there, they had to wear the star.
A yellow.
Star for...
Yeah. Sure, that's the way it was. Yeah. That is how bad it was. So the replacement Americans,
they were good.
Good guys.
Yeah.
No problem.
They were good to us kids.
Yeah.
They really were good to us.
The fighting groups that were, so it seems to me they hated us, they were mad because they had to fight. Yeah. Yeah, so okay, I can understand, but I said this before, they wouldn't give you nothing. They would stay there, take their cigarette, drop one on the floor. When we kids wanted to pick them up, they put their foot on them. That's the truth, I'm not kidding.
But the first...
But that's okay, that's okay. And from then on, the war was finished, the US, the soldiers came and occupied. I was living in a camp, and they came in, parked their cars, trucks. They took some families out of their houses, and they moved in. I remember, and in the backyard they were cooking meat, and they ate meat and everything. We stood there hungry. You won't believe it, but I don't want to make it too bad, but they would give us nothing. They took the meat, put him in a hole and buried him. They wouldn't give us not even one bite. I mean, that is the truth, I'm not kidding. That is the truth. And then from then on, it's got a little bit better, the occupation, and then we had to go to work in the city in order to get the food stamps. So we start working. In the cities they put little railroads into the streets. We had to shovel the dirt and clean out the streets. They went about 2 miles south, and they had a big mountain where they all dumped their stuff. That is how we rebuilt the city.
Well, with the French army was not quite that peaceful. We have a lot of Marokkaner, and they raped girls and women no matter how old they were in some towns. In my town, I know one case where the boy then grew up not with our skin, and otherwise it was quiet. But then one day with the tank, the army were looking for sleeping quarters by the people, and we took a French army soldier in and gave him sleep and food and water, no beer. And he slept in our house. A matter of fact, in my own bed he was sleeping. And he was, I think, 5 days with us, and then those tanks took off to somewhere else again.
Adolf Hitler, der Führer der deutschen Jugend, hat das Wort.
I went to school. That wasn't anymore Herr so-and-so or Mrs. so-and-so or Fräulein so-and-so, the Frau so-and-so. It was always, you had to say Heil Hitler. No other greetings. If you came or if you went, it was always Heil Hitler.
I don't know, for whatever the Hitler said he has to do. And there was immer Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler. And when you didn't say it, it was wrong. You know, middle in the night they come and took your parents around somewhere. You never come home anymore. Because you didn't do what the Hitler wants you to do.
Meine deutsche Jugend, nach einem Jahr kann ich euch hier wieder begrüßen. Ihr seid heute hier in dieser Muschel nur ein Ausschnitt dessen, was außer ihr über ganz Deutschland steht. Und wir möchten nun, dass ihr, deutsche Jungs und deutsche Mädchen, in euch all das aufnehmt, was wir dereinst uns von Deutschland hoffen. Wir wollen ein Volk sein. Und ihr, meine Jugend, soll dieses Volk nun werden.
You had to go. You had to join. If you did not go, there came the police and they got you. That is the truth. So you had no choice, right?
We had to go to the youth, Hitler youth, and to us girls and the boys, they were separately, it was really a nice time. It was compulsory, we had to go, and we had to wear a uniform, dark blue skirts, white blouses, and a Halstuch with a
Scarf, yeah.
a scarf with a knote.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called in English. And that was really fun, but there was no propaganda at all.
Well, I remember, not much me, I was too little, but my oldest brother, he had to go to the Hitler Jugend, and he had the uniform on, you know, and he was drilled there.
The 28th of April 1945 had three things happening in my hometown. Of course, the 20th of April was Adolf Hitler's birthday. Always in that time, the little kids get involved with the Hitler Youth. And in that day I would have become a Hitler Youth. But that didn't work out because at the same time the French army marched into my hometown. So there was service in the Hitler Youth.
For us young fellas, it was nice because I tell you, we got together in the woods, we made games, we climbed trees, all kinds of stuff. When I see today, when they show on television the Hitler Youth, bothering the people, as far as I'm concerned, that's the biggest lie I ever. We would not allow, they would not allow us to do something bad. Nazi is a word is made by the Americans. Nazi means Nationalsozialistische Deutsche Arbeiterpartei. In other words, Sozialistische German Workers' Party. That's what it means. So you had to join, you had no choice. But like I said, today everybody is a Nazi. Well, I have two brothers in the war, they were no Nazis.
Nobody knows that.
No, we didn't know it, honey. We was too small. I hear that, we probably heard it from our parents, you know.
No, Dad didn't know either.
Yeah, we didn't know it for a long time,
A
sure.
lot of Americans,
Never heard of it.
a lot of Americans think we knew what happened. We knew what those where those two families went to. No, it's not true. We did not know one thing about a concentration camp. After the war, yeah, they told us about it. But during the war, no.
Yeah,
No idea. No idea.
If today, when I read my German paper, if a guard came out and talked about it, they would shoot him. Yeah, they would shoot him. So, like I said, I asked my dad many times. They had no idea.
No.
He was a priest, and whenever someone was, you know, in the funeral, he called a speech, and he didn't say the right thing. He was against the Hitler, and one night they took him and put him in the concentration lager, and he never come home. He died there. So it's not. It was German people too who didn't believe on Hitler. You know, a lot of people. My parents didn't like him neither. Well, after the war, it get better with us. With food and everything, you know.
The war was finished in 45 in the middle of the year, so like I said, my father, he was away, he was working on the railroad all his life, so he wasn't a soldier. And my mom was working in a big factory making bread, so that was about the end. Yeah, so everybody came back home. My dad came home, my two brothers came home. Willie was in Russia for 5 years in prison, and Brother George, they came home right away, and that's all I remember. Sure. Hey, listen, sometimes I think if it wasn't for the war, the city wouldn't look that good. I mean it. Yeah. Those old houses, I don't like that old stuff. I like the new stuff better. If it wasn't for the war, nothing would be rebuilt. What we call the old city, Altstadt. It don't exist anymore. They wiped it off. It's beautiful.
In church, there were an awful lot of black trees. A lot of people didn't come back, which was sad.
Yeah.
But you lived with it and, you know, you moved on. You just moved on. And then when the Americans came, that was fine too.
That all would not happen if they had a couple of 2, 3 smart people to kill this Adolf Hitler when as all started. Because he promised the people, we're gonna make blooming cities out of Germany, which he was right. Because the bushes and the flowers were grown out of the ruins everywhere. He was right. They should have killed that bastard, sorry. They should have killed this guy before everything happened. What I don't understand is how the German generals, smart like Rommel and all, followed this guy. This I cannot understand today.
Rommel was killed.
Whoever was against him, they killed.
Yeah, they killed him.
If they would have killed this guy, that would not have happened.
Yeah, the war would have ended much sooner.
Maybe it didn't even would have started.
Yeah. But he wanted to really Germanize everything.
Yeah.
You know, blonde, blue-eyed, that was his idea of a German, of a real German. That's not possible.
for me.
We're happy today. Yeah.